What's up, APUSH? This is Mr. Narimatsu coming with you with another APUSH video lesson regarding the long essay question. So we're going to discuss today how to complete a long essay question, obviously what the rubric is like and what are the steps to go through it. So let's get into it. So what should you expect? First of all, the long essay question is part of section 2. So section 2 actually has 2 parts, but you're given an entire hour and 40 minutes to complete 2 parts. So you'll have a 15-minute reading time. During this time, you'll be using most of your time actually to go ahead and quickly look at the DBQ, quickly look at the LAQ, and then spending most of your time kind of marking the documents. So we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get into it. But just want to let you guys know that the long essay question and the DBQ is part of section 2. So at the end of section 2, after an hour and 40 minutes, you will have created one DBQ essay and one long essay question. As it shows right here, the long essay question, this is section 2, makes up about 15% of the grade. Notice that the DBQ is worth more points. This is why we spend a little bit more emphasis in this class, focusing on the DBQ rather than the long essay question. It is the lowest percent to impact your overall score, but nonetheless, we still need to complete one because obviously if we get a 0 out of 15%, that's going to negatively affect our grade. So our goal is to create an essay with a little bit of these things that we'll be looking at in the rubric. But notice that it is the lowest. Multiple choice score is over 40% of your grade. The short answer is 20% of your grade. That's all 3 short answers, by the way. The document-based question is 25%. So this is a essay that's going to impact your score the least on the AP test. However, nonetheless, we do need to be prepared for it, and we do need to be able to write at least something so we can get a few points to be successful. You're expected, like I said, to create an essay for the long essay question with probably about 2 paragraphs. It's going to be the introduction. In this class, as you guys know, we try to do our contextualization in the introduction with a thesis. If you choose not to do the contextualization and basically have a 1 to 2 sentence introduction, which is just your thesis, then hopefully you do some contextualization as your conclusion. We've talked about that a few times in this class now. And lastly, a body paragraph or body paragraphs, which is an argument with historical key terms and claims that respond to the prompt. Um, so just to help you understand a little bit more about the methodology of what I try to help students go through as we go through section 2. Again, you'll be given an hour and 40 minutes to write both the DBQ and LEQ, which makes up section 2. So for the first 15 minutes, you only read the testing booklet. You will not be able to begin writing either the DBQ or LEQ. What is in the testing booklet? You're going to have the DBQ, which has obviously the documents plus the prompt, and the LEQ, which has a total of 3 prompts. Remember that those 3 prompts, question 1 can come from periods 1 through 3, question 2, periods 4 through 6, and questions 3, 7 through 9. Now, when I usually see these periods, like periods 1, 2, and 9, it's theoretically most of the question is on about period 3, but it might ask you to compare and contrast or talk about continuity and changes, and that's where you have to understand some things that happened in period 1 and 2. Same thing with period 9. It may talk about continuity or comparison where you need to know a lot about 7 and 8, but need to know a couple things about period 9. Remember that in this class, we kind of talk about how period 1, 2, and period 9 are not that important. And really the most important part is periods 3 through 8. That's because your DBQ, just to go back here, is only on periods 3 through 8. And you can see here that most of it, if we focus on 3 through 8, would be good. However, for question number 1 of the LEQ, which I think is actually question number 2, because DBQ is question number 1, this is question 2, question 3, question 4. For question 2, which is periods 1 through 3, and question 4, which is periods 7 through 9, it sounds like you need to know a little bit about period 1 and 2 and a little bit of period 9. So this is where periods 1, 2, and 9 kind of show up, where you kind of have to know some things in order to create a good long essay question if you were to choose questions 2 or question 4. Obviously, if you choose question 3, it's going to be confined to periods 4, 5, and 6, which hopefully you have a good, strong historical understanding of, and will help you be successful. So let's talk about the process. During these 15 minutes, I recommend that you read, mark, and analyze the prompt of the DBQ, and actually do not go into the documents. What I would like you to do then is immediately, so hopefully this only takes you about a minute or 2, if that, and then you'll immediately go to the LEQ. Let's go ahead and read, mark, and analyze the prompt of the LEQ, whichever one you want to choose. Try to do a quick brainstorm / mind map to jot down a couple historical key terms and explanations, and then try to get at least 4 terms if possible. Once you're doing that quick kind of like brainstorming, which should only take about hopefully about 4 or 5 minutes, you're going to spend the rest of that reading time, maybe another 10 minutes or so, actually begin marking the documents of the DBQ. Here's the idea that I have in my head. I always talk about how we don't use all of our brain, and that we have this thing called the subconscious that's very powerful. So my idea is this: when you read, mark, and analyze the prompt of the DBQ, your brain is still working on this, even though you're moving on to LAQ. And while your brain is working on the LAQ, some of your subconscious may be trying to figure out some of the answers of your DBQ. Then, when you choose an LAQ and you kind of have a couple of ideas and know exactly what question you're going to be talking about, while you're reading the DBQ, hopefully a couple more ideas happen in the LAQ. So the idea is preparing your brain both for the DBQ and LAQ to engage in some historical key terms and have some items. So that's the kind of idea. So again, read, mark, and analyze the prompt of the DBQ. Don't go to the documents. Go to the LAQ. Choose which question you do. Question two, question or it says question one, but it's actually question two, question three, or question four, and then try to do a quick brainstorm. And hopefully, during the DBQ, during this process, you're going to have a little bit more of your subconscious working that might provide a couple more key terms for you to be successful during the long essay question. So I hope that helps you understand. If not, come and ask questions. We'll go ahead and talk about it in class before we take a final, and most likely before we take some of the DBQ and LEQ tests in one sitting. We'll discuss kind of some of those questions and concerns that you guys have about this process. So let's go ahead and take a look at the testing booklet. Just as a heads up, these are the free response questions. So I'm going to go ahead and open this here. So this is what your testing booklet would look like. You'd be given this, and you would be given some line sheets of paper, and you'd be told for the first 15 minutes of the hour and 40 minutes that you have, so the first 15 minutes, you would be going ahead and be given this document. So again, let's skip the short answer because on the day of the test, you will not have this short answer. But obviously, this is the DBQ. So hopefully you would mark the prompt. You would go ahead and write your two questions and have it kind of your subconscious working on it. And before you go to the documents, you would go down here to the long essay questions. And again, here's question two, question three, question four. Remember, question two is going to be periods 1 through 3. Question three is periods 4 through 6. And question four is 7 through 9. So you get to choose one of these, whichever one that you feel the most confident and successful in. Obviously, I think that most of us will probably lean into number 3 since we put so much more emphasis on periods 4, 5, and 6 in this class. So, but again, your call. Each student kind of learns different things from different periods and feel more successful or not depending on the period. So you choose the one that you feel that you know the most amount of information on. Now let's go ahead and take a look, sorry about that, at the College Board rubric. So let's go ahead and take a look at this to figure out how you'll be graded. Inside of our class, this will be a total of 40 points, and we'll explain that in a second. But for the LEQ, which you can find here, we need to have contextualization similar to the DBQ. We need to have a thesis similar to the DBQ. This is where things get a little bit different. One thing that you have to do is provide evidence that is relevant. And I really want you to understand the word relevant. I mean, if it just relates to the prompt at any level, you write down a key term that relates somehow to the prompt, I have to give you a point. If you are writing down evidence that has nothing to do with the prompt, unfortunately, I cannot give you a point. Now, let's say that you use that evidence and you actually support your thesis or your argument, then that's how you would actually get a bonus, another 2 points. So the goal of this class actually is to try to kind of do these 4 points. Let's do a contextualization. Let's do thesis. Let's have maybe 3 to 4 key terms and have those 3 to 4 key terms support your argument. Now, in your argument, if you are able to use comparison, causation, continuity, change over time, aka our historical thinking skills. So if you're able to say this shows that one was similar, or this shows that something was different, or this shows a cause, or this shows effect, or this shows a continuity or a change, now you're showing some kind of complex reasoning and analysis, and now I have to give you another point. So remember that in this class, we kind of take these points and turn them into 10 points. You theoretically, if you have 3 or 4 pieces of evidence, you support your argument, and the argument, you say the word similarities, differences, cause, effect, continuity, change over time, or continuity and a change, and you actually explain those, I have to give you now 50 out of 40 points. So this is how, again, you can get extra credit. Now, if you're a student that has a very complex understanding, and again, I really feel that this is kind of difficult for most students to do, so it's okay. That's why this is out of 40 points, not out of 6 points, or out of 4 points in our class. Times 10 is 40 points, not 6 points out of 60. Then you can go ahead and you can get an extra point. But again, this has to be reflected in the thesis. So your thesis has to be complex, and your argumentation inside the body paragraph has to be complex. And remember, these are the things that they're working for. You'll notice that this language is very similar to DBQ. So if we can find a modification, a qualification, something that shows some kind of high level thinking and analysis, that's how you get that bonus point. Once again, for our class, we are not looking to actually get any of these. We are looking simply to do this. Can we do contextualization? Can we do a thesis? Can we have 3 to 4 pieces of evidence that relate to the prompt? And can we use those 3 to 4 to actually support our thesis? Can our thesis actually make a claim? And can we actually use these 3 to 4 to actually say, this shows that this is supporting my argument? And again, many of you naturally will probably say, this shows a similarity. This shows a cause. This shows an effect. This shows a difference. This shows a continuity. This shows a change. And when you do that, I'm going to have to give you guys the extra bonus point. All right. So I feel that you are very capable of getting 50 out of 40 points in addition to getting the 40 out of 40. I totally understand if some of you guys feel a little bit concerned about trying to go to this higher level analysis and reasoning. Remember, students are not very strong in writing overall on this test. And I guarantee if we were to get 2 or even 3 points out of the 6 points, we'll be well on our way on passing this test. So what I have done is I've go ahead and created a rubric, an explanation for DBQs for each of these. Once again, this is what I'll be using to go ahead and grade your guys' LAQs. I'm not going to really take too much time to overview it because this is just analysis of the College Board rubric, and it kind of repeats itself. However, as you guys know, I kind of identify what are some of the major errors that I tend to see students and what are some of the major things I see from great students. So again, really, I'd take a couple of seconds here or a couple of moments maybe to find this document, which is linked obviously here, to go ahead and open it and kind of really focus on proficient, advanced, and maybe even look at basic and figure out what the similarities and differences are, because this is what I'll be using to go ahead and grade your guys' essay. And we'll go into that a little bit more when we talk about the grading sheet in a second. So I'm not going to spend too much time, but remember, our goal is to always get proficient and advanced. And how you get proficient and advanced is by doing these things. Okay. And I've kind of labeled them according to the rubric that we have here. So if you understand, hey, how do I get the D first point? Awesome. Then you go over here to your D, and there's the first point, and it kind of talks about how you get the first and also the second point. Okay. So there's that. The components of the DBQ, I think it's being clear, but just to be super clear, there are 4 points that we're expected to have in our 2-paragraph essay. Introduction and contextualization with contextualization and thesis. So contextualization is 1 point. Sorry about that. And a thesis is another point. Remember, you can do a conclusion for contextualization after the prompt, but we try to do it before the prompt as much as possible. And then a body paragraph with 3 to 4 key terms or historical references that are relevant to the prompt. 1 point for evidence and reasoning. And using those key terms to identify and support your thesis argument in response to the prompt, that's how you get your second point. Okay. So let's go ahead and review a student LEQ example. So if you go ahead and click this, there's a bunch of different examples that kind of give you like scoring guidelines on the long essay question. And it kind of tells you exactly what you're looking for. But what I really like about this is this talks about down here these different student examples and exactly why they got the score that they did. So if you were to scroll down here, and this kind of tells you all of it, you actually have student examples that happen. And then down at the very bottom, I believe they give you kind of analysis as to the grade that they got and why they got their grade. So again, you have access to this document, but what I would do is I would take a look at some of the samples that got really high scores. So in this case, they got 1 point for contextualization, 1 point for their thesis. We're talking about sample A, which is on the very top. Their analysis and reasoning, they got a 0, and it kind of explains why. And then we go to sample B. So what I would be doing is I'd be looking at the really good samples, right? And so it shows you exactly what the thesis is and kind of gives you some more examples of what's going on here. So again, these are all these samples. Again, what's going on up here, it's going to say sample E or sample D, and this just kind of helps you understand and kind of see what the writing is expected to be as well. So as you get to those samples, you can go down here and kind of take a look. I highly encourage that you find a student that did really good, like sample C, I think. Wait, no, sample B. and one that didn't do so well. So like this student, sample D didn't do so well. Sample E did not do so well. Unfortunately, they're all different types of LEQs, I believe. And so because of that, you're going to not really understand exactly what the prompt is, but just having an idea of what the difference is between a really good student and a really not so good student response, I think will really help you be successful. Okay. So let's go ahead and review the APUSH LEQ grading sheet. This is the grading sheet that I'll be using for you guys. Just notice that there are some bonus points if you were to go into here, but here, this contextualization thesis looks exactly the same from the DBQ grading sheet. So these are some of the things that I see from students. Over here, what I'll be doing is when you put a historical key term, I'm gonna write down that key term. And then if there are errors, like it not being clearly identified, it's not too general or vague, or it's difficult to identify, I'll be circling those. If you do well on your student explanation of the key term, that's AKA your evidence, I will give you a check, 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 check. If you have support your argument and thesis, I'll give you check, check, check. If we get a 10 here, we get a 10 here, we get 3 or 4 checks here, we get 3 or 4 checks here, I have to give you a 10 here, we got a 10 here, and that's how you get your 40. Over here on the back is for those students that have a little bit more evidence. They use it to support the argument a little bit more. They also, if they do the extra analysis and reason, where they do the continuity change over time, and also how to corroborate, mollify, kind of those really difficult things for students to do, in my opinion, that's how you'll get extra credit. And I put up here bonus points from the back. Okay. So this will be the LEQ grading sheet. This is on the writing resources part of my website for you to have access to it. But again, take a look at this because this kind of shows some of the the student problems or student mistakes that I tend to see from students for the long essay question. Okay. And so that's pretty much it. Want to make this kind of short and sweet. So I believe that you'll have an assignment in which you will have to choose from the review book a long essay question. There are no documents. So again, this is all from the top of your guys' head. So please make sure that you understand that there are no documents or outside information really to help support you. Everything that, well, I would say outside information, but information given to you to go ahead and write this essay. This is a test on understanding what you know about a specific topic from a specific period, and if you can write a comprehensive essay that addresses that topic. Okay. I'm going to go back real quickly to the student LEQ example just one more time, and kind of just make sure that you guys, oh, so you know what is cool, I actually did choose a response. That's why I thought I did. And so here is actually the essay question, guys. And this is actually what they're going to be looking for. So once again, you get a total of 6 points, but this is right about period 6, and it's about technological change and how it fostered a change. And so this is what they're looking for the thesis. This is what they're looking for contextualization. This is what they're looking for your evidence. This is what they're looking for historical key term, like your historical reasoning, using the word comparison or using the word cause, effect, similarity, and difference, and those other items. And then down below here, it talks about all of the different things that you could find even more, right? If you kind of use these words and these words and these words and kind of go through it. So again, you will have access to this Google Slides. And so please go ahead and hit the student LAQ and take a couple of minutes right now. Just kind of review it, maybe in 10 to 15 minutes, kind of reviewing, understand exactly what they're looking for. And please identify a couple of students that did successful and figure out what they did right, what they did wrong to help you become successful as well. I think what's kind of crazy is some of you guys will go ahead and take a look at some of their contextualization and go, wow, that seems really underdeveloped. It doesn't seem nearly as strong as what we develop. And I'm like, yeah, I'm excited about that. Remember, I really don't know exactly what these AP readers are looking for 100% of the time. I have a good, strong idea, and I'm always trying to prepare you guys to be the most successful that you can on that part. So this may affirm some of your feelings about your writing skills, and you might go, "Wow, this person got a point for contextualization, yet they only wrote 3 sentences. I know I can do at least 6 sentences, and it's more complex than that." And hopefully, that'll give you a little more confidence about your writing skills. So once again, thank you for listening and taking care of the long essay question. And this video lesson, this is posted underneath writing resources, both the video and this PowerPoint, or this Google Slide, so that you can use it in the future. And good luck. and we will continue practicing this and hope you guys be successful. Again, looking for 2 or 3 points on the LEQ. If we get 2 or 3 points, man, we're doing really good. So let's try to go 2 or 3, maybe even 4. That'd be great. All right, guys, we'll see you back in class and have a great day.